Jono, thanks for joining us. We're here at training at Merchant Taylors. Let's kick off with the One Day Cup that we're in the midst of. I guess the only way to say a very, very disappointing start, those opening two games at Worcester and Derbyshire.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't turn up for either of those games. I think you can sort of forgive the first one maybe with a change of format. Seemed we were in a bit of a rush in that game, coming off the back of T20 cricket. I know we keep going on. It's a young team, but you know the experience of 50 over cricket. It's obviously a longer game, and you have more time, and you can repair innings and get back into it. Whereas you don't always get that opportunity in T20. So going from one format to the other, you can sort of forgive that first one possibly, but the second one for me was the more disappointing one at Derby, where we didn't sort of right our wrongs of the first game. So yeah, very, very disappointing those first two games, but we had a good chat at the end of the second one and before the third one, and sort of put a few things into perspective and put a few things right. And luckily that it came together better. Still not perfect, but certainly better in the third game in that win.
How tough is it in the dressing room when you open up the campaign with those two heavy defeats? How tough is it for you as a coach and the rest of your coaching group to galvanise the boys and give them that belief to come back out and bounce back like they did at Radlett?
Yeah, it's just hard work, isn't it? Roll your sleeves up and get your practice in and do the basics well, but with a bit of determination and a bit of spirit and a bit of fight, and hard work, can get you success, and that's pretty much what we sort of worked on. And look, let's not hide behind the fact that our white ball cricket over the last 15 years hasn't been up to standard, hasn't been good enough. It's something we've spoken about since I've come back 3 years now, third year. We're trying to develop a white ball mentality and a white ball team, and there's a few ups and downs along the way with it. Sometimes we feel we're progressing, and other times we fall back again. But I keep banging on about it, but the age of this group is very young, and we've got to build experience into them. And I know we want to win games along the way as well, but we've got to keep developing this group. And you see with people like Luke Holman coming through now, and Nathan Fernandez, and and some of the other guys coming through, the youngsters who've had a lot of experience now over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're starting to use that experience to improve performance and get better, and that's the the direction we're going in. We know that financially, if once everything sort of eases a little bit in that respect, we can add as well, which we need to add a bit of experience to a very talented young group.
We'll come on to talk about the squad as such, because obviously we've had to announce a couple of departures recently. We'll talk about what impact that has on you and how do you manage that with the financial situation we're in. But just before that, let's look at another one of those youngsters that's come through, Noah Cornwell. You must be absolutely thrilled with how he's come in. He's obviously stepped into the T20 side and made a real impact as a young man, 18 years old, and he's carried that form into the Metrobank One Day Cup. And seeing him play at Radlett on Monday, he really looked to have the bit between his teeth. You must be thrilled with how he stepped up.
Yeah, absolutely. We identified him a couple of years ago through the academy. We got him involved in our winter nets and stuff, and made sure he had contact points with us, as well as getting him around the first team players. You could tell straight away, character-wise, he had that little bit of something different. Pressure wasn't going to necessarily phase him. It was going to galvanise him and get him going even more. So, he's worked really hard last winter, technically, get himself in a really good position to be consistent. And we knew it was the right time to just throw him in, really. And he's repaid that in buckets. I think he's looked really good. He drives the bowling unit as a young kid, which I love.
Yeah.
He gets in the opposition's faces a little bit, and and you can see how much joy he has when he celebrates his wickets as well. So yeah, he's been another nice find. But again, when you're in a T20 match and you've only played a handful of games, and the ball's flying around a little bit, who have you got there to help you and guide you and support you? And that's where experienced players, can obviously help younger players to improve and get better. And it's the one area probably with our bowling unit at the moment we don't quite have.
You've obviously gone to steps to improve that bowling unit. We signed Henry Brooks from Warwickshire at the start of this season. I know you've been working with Henry on some things that he's been kind of playing through, and that will obviously take a bit of time to reach fruition. But how pleased have you been with how Henry stepped into the side? And I know as a bloke around the dressing room, he's phenomenal to have around. But how pleased are you with the progress Henry's making?
Yeah, he's another great character. We know from him as a 19-year-old fast bowler, he was on the England watch and everything, and he can bowl 90 miles an hour. I've seen it on TV and everything. He's a proper fast bowler. He's a good character. He's obviously lost his way a little bit over the last couple of years. Tried a few different things technically, hasn't quite worked out, and we're just sort of piecing that back together. Didn't spend much time with him in the winter, unfortunately. We didn't actually sign him until I think January, so we didn't have a lot of time to really get to work early season. But we've made a pact with each other this year that although he's playing, we've got to keep that technical stuff going, because we've got to find a way of bringing him back to that 90 mile an hour fast bowler. So there's been glimpses through the season, little spells where he's started to get things right, and I think probably the last game at Radlett, from the top end coming down the hill, I thought he bowled beautifully. I think he bowled 6 overs for 18 and got a couple of wickets, and he looked like the bowler that we signed. So hopefully now we're starting to get a bit of the fruition of the hard work that he's put in. But for me, you still won't see the best of him until probably next year, once another winter block of training hard, working hard at his technique, and next year I think you'll see a super young, hungry fast bowler running in and performing for us really well. But that doesn't mean to say he won't do that this year, but I think next year we'll really get the benefits of it. Good
to hear. Just going back to those finances that we touched on, it's a real perspective moment really that you've got to take when you look at the financial restrictions we're under. I think I'm right in saying the ECB sanctions mean we can only spend 60% of our salary cap. I think I'm right in saying that salary cap sits at about 2.7 million. Plenty of counties out there are spending that. You're obviously working to 60% of that, and we're not quite at that threshold. So I mentioned a moment ago that we've released 2 players. Ethan Bamber is off to Warwickshire and Martin Anderson is off to Derbyshire. I guess from a financial kind of balancing act point of view, that frees up some budget for you to then strengthen the squad in the areas that you want to go. So would you care to touch on Ethan's departure and Martin's departure?
Yeah, look, Ethan's departure, obviously, sad to see Ethan go. I think I gave him his debut a few years back. I can't remember what year that was now. Just before I left, took over as interim for a while, and I think I gave him his debut that year. So I've got a long association with Ethan, very good relationship. He's taught me, we've spoken all year about, or all summer about him not signing a contract and what that means and what he's looking to do. And he's in his rights to explore and look at other areas. And I think Ethan said himself, he feels the time is right for a different challenge and to put himself under a little bit of pressure moving somewhere else. And it's tough, because from my perspective, I did the same. I was a Middlesex boy through and through. I grew up playing for Middlesex. I had all my friends, my family, everyone was supporting Middlesex, and I was happy here. But I felt there was something missing, and I felt I wanted to play for England. I wanted to challenge myself, and I needed to move to get that done. So, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad move for him, because I'd be a hypocrite to be doing that. It's something he feels he needs to do and has to do, and he goes with our full blessing and support, and he'll always be a Middlesex boy, and he knows we'll be here to support him if he needs that as well, moving forward. Martin, I think for him it's an amazing opportunity. He's sort of the last couple of years been sort of Higo's understudy almost. He's not played the cricket he wants to play in the last couple of years, because obviously with Higo you've got your best all-rounder probably in the country, and he's struggled to break into any formats because of that. So I think the opportunity for him to go and play cricket week in, week out, and be a first choice somewhere is amazing for him. And again, he's been in the system a long time, but I think 28 I think now, it's a great opportunity for him to go and play regular cricket, basically, that we can't really offer him.
It's the nature of professional sport, I guess. Players will always want to challenge themselves and give themselves their best opportunity, really. So, budget-wise, of course, their departure probably opens the door for somebody to come in, maybe one, maybe two. You've also got, obviously, our EPG squad that are flying in the 50 over tournament at the moment. I think we've just announced that they've qualified for the semi-final, which they play next week. You've got some real talent in that group that you would like our guests to see progress into the first 11, be that through rookie contracts or longer term deals. But of course, obviously, you've got an open market out there. There'll be players available. I'm not going to ask you who you've got your eye on, but I guess you'll be hoping to top up the squad with some talent from outside and inside.
Yeah, I think, again, the last couple of years we've spoken about recruitment, and it's an important part of trying to make teams successful, and we've got to do it with our arms tied behind our back a little bit financially. So, I think recruiting players and good players into a squad makes everything a bit more competitive. I think sometimes you recruit from within just through your academy, and it can be a bit chummy and a bit friendly, whereas actually you bring someone from the outside in who stirs the pot a little bit. People are suddenly looking over their shoulder and thinking, hold on, I'm not just guaranteed to play in the next game. So I think the recruitment thing is really important for this club to move forward and to really gain a competitive edge. So losing two players obviously does free up something to have a look in the market, and whether that's domestic or overseas, we'll have to see. But there should be something hopefully coming next year. But yeah.
Jono, let's finish off by looking ahead to the next couple of games. We've got Kent at Beckenham on Sunday, and then we have Durham at Radlett on Tuesday. I guess we must be heading into that Kent game full of confidence after a game that reaped so many positives up at Radlett last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Kent are a good side, but we'll concentrate on how we went about our cricket in the last game, and really hammer that home hopefully, and start to bring some consistency to the competition.
And Durham on Tuesday. Again, we nick a win on Sunday at Kent and we win at Durham. That's 3 from 5. That puts us right in the mix for the quarters. So looking optimistically, wouldn't that be nice?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. But one game at a time, as they say, Fletch. Let's get to Beckenham and put in a good performance there, and then hopefully that rolls into Radlett. And Radlett's a ground we know well. We enjoy playing there. We know the little intricacies of the ground, and we're always confident of turning up at Radlett or MTs. A lot of our young players obviously play academy and second team at those grounds, and they probably call that more home than being at Lords, because they grow up and they play more cricket there. So yeah, we always feel confident going into those home games. But yeah, let's get Beckenham done first, and hopefully we want to put a good performance in and keep rolling and keep momentum going.
Superb. Look, John, thanks ever so much for your time this morning. Good luck over the next few days, and let's catch up after Durham.
Thanks, Fletch.